Hello, Ohana. Soul Dr. Nick here, and today is February 1st, 2025. Daily Musings, not for public consumption, and you can choose to watch it if you want. My role here isn't to get you to watch it or not, it's just to share and be with. And today it is on the rooftop balcony. It is raining, a little bit of almost snow and sleet. I won't be up here too long because it's obviously cold and wet, but I wanted to be up here. We just celebrated our second Chinese New Year dinner. Actually, we realized we just call it New Year. It's Lunar New Year, and it's just in North America that we call it Chinese New Year because that's probably the culture they associate with most, and almost all the Asian cultures celebrate this. So kind of funny to realize that. And it's always funny when you notice the little pieces of language that change. And so yesterday I was listening to Tony Robbins because he's having his 3-day free summit and just reminding us of the state, story, strategy. Like if we really want to change things, we always think of strategy, but it really is the story that we have. Oh my God, what is my history? What is my trauma? All that stuff. And even before that, what state am I in? And right now, as you can see, as I'm talking to you, I'm talking a little bit faster. My state is energized, it's awake, it's alert. And I got an example of that from my own son interacting with my beloved, just his cries, his screams, the challenges, and not being able to rest. Oh man, the state that you can be in when you haven't slept for 4 years. I can't even imagine. And I recognize for myself, that is part of my gift, and it's been the gift of my beloved to me, is that I get to take care of my own state first. I take care of my state so I can actually manage my own story, because I've got lots of stories swimming in this head. So my strategy is more sound for what I want, especially for the work that I do. It also ties back to being the father that I want to be. And my beloved, I love her, and she puts my son first, and I'm so grateful for that, because in these moments, even though I'm in a probably clearer state, having rested more, he's still teaching her, because he knows that unconditional love is there. He still wants to be with mom. And for me, I'm so grateful now I can look back and say, thank you. Thank you for all that you do, and how do I support you in this state? How do I support you with what's going on? And so we're still navigating all that. I'm sharing this because I'm realizing that is part of the navigation piece. It's learning how to navigate these challenges of parenthood, these challenges of changes, and the only constant is change. And how do we navigate it so it doesn't have to be a crisis before we actually choose what we want? Knowing that we don't really have control so much as we can guide the direction. And I look forward to guiding this direction more. And I'll report back with what happens on my daily musings, because it matters. And I'm grateful for all these lessons that happen in real time, because Tony was saying, he's like, most of us make these breakthrough experiences, these major changes, when there's enough pain, enough suffering that it's time to change. He's like, but that's not the only time that can happen. And I'm realizing now more and more, how do I choose to make the changes when I feel inspired? And in that inspiration, acknowledge that change and that breakthrough just as much, if not more, than the ones that came from pain and suffering, so that I can reprogram, rewire my brain. Choose inspiration, choose inspiration, choose inspiration. And in the moments of pain and suffering, choose to make breakthroughs then too, but don't make that the only place. And that's the piece for me. It's the same thing as the ceremonies that I have for myself and run now in general. I realize that if I change the story of I have to go through a dark night of the soul in order to emerge, then that's going to be painful. And that was me before. That's part of the reason probably I had to die over and over and over again, aside from being my own awakening journey. It's like, oh my God, now the experience of death as I've known it has changed to be more of one of returning to source. And all of this may sound strange. I'm not trying to explain it all yet, because I'm still figuring it out. And that's another piece, is that over and over again I realize I'm still figuring it out. And how do I learn from the masters? And one of the masters is Tony. I realized I heard his voice decades ago, wanted to buy his DVDs decades ago, when I was even before the year 2000 probably. And very different version of him then. And part of me was like, if I had learned that then, where would I be now? And then forgetting that that version of me didn't have the current sense of self that this version has. And that's probably one of the biggest differences. because I've wanted to find this version of myself so that I can choose my own path. I can take in all these amazing teachers and not try to be them, not try to imitate them. Rather, how do I incorporate that into my version of things? How do I not feel like I have to jump as much as he does, dance as much as he does, laugh as much as he does? And it doesn't mean that I can't do all those things. And it doesn't mean I have to stay doing all those things, because that's part of it too. What I've been offering, who I've been being, consistently changes, evolves, optimizes for wonder. That's part of what I want. I want to be kind of, some people say the Peter Pan syndrome. It's not that. It's incorporating that childlike wonder into an adult version of me, because as I'm listening, even just now, I listened to Zach Bush and he's saying, we have to remember that children are sensory beings, they're emotional beings, and getting their feet in the dirt and all this stuff is so important. But how many of us right away are told, get your feet out of the dirt? Even for myself and my son, I realized I want to find him teachers that are much better with him being in nature differently than I can provide. And it's a shortcut way to do it. There's a part where I am going to practice interacting with nature differently. Even right now, being in the rain and in the cold, I'm being with it differently in the past. If it was raining like this and cold, I'd just stay inside all frickin' day. I don't want to get outside, get wet and get cold. And now I'm realizing I want to be in the sunshine first thing in the morning. I want to record my video up here. I want to actually see what it's like, because it's 4.6 degrees outside right now. So it's not warm, that's Celsius, but it's not crazy cold. And I only know what it feels like by actually getting out there. And probably part of it relates to the current state I was in. If I was feeling cold and weak and tired already, this would be overwhelming. I was feeling strong and energized after my morning enema, after my reading and reflecting on the night, and realizing that I can change my state, just moving and pumping a little bit. And so let's be up here, let's be with myself, let's be with you who are going to listen to this. And it may just be artificial intelligence that does that, because they'll be scraping all these videos for Google, that's for sure. And what else? Just noticing the diet and the fuel I'm putting in my body. I am enjoying the heck out of eating all these treats. I am a little apprehensive of what's next, and I'm going to practice being with the juicer, being with things. And I love that I'm listening to things now. The carnivore diet, great that I tried it. And I can see now more that most of these diets make us acidotic and give us short-term gains. Not that that pattern interruption isn't super powerful. And if you're choosing that, don't try to change it. For myself, I'm realizing all I'm doing is repeatedly pattern interrupting and seeing what serves me best. And noticing my own, I used to call it addictive personality. I think part of it is because it takes me a while to have that state change, and then I get hooked on it a little bit. Like the enemas, I've gotten hooked on it a little bit. How do I actually start shifting things up, especially when I start the diet? The breath, I got hooked on it for a while, and then I had to hook out of it, and now it's hooking back in and back out at times. It's the same thing with the medicine states. And allowing myself to have these sprints now. It's changing the language. Oh, I'm addicted? No, I'm gonna have a sprint. And after the sprint, I get to choose. And this sprint right now, am I gonna do for all of February? Let's do for at least half. Let's do it till Valentine's Day and see how that goes again. 14 days. And see what it's like to have this next sprint of Daily Musings. See if it's actually serving me, creating more clarity. And I think part of it is it's allowing me to ramble, to bamble, to change and bamboozle myself, and just practice saying, okay, I can say whatever I want in whatever way and still post it to YouTube. I don't have to get it right. People don't have to watch it. It's going to clog up and cloud up my system and the algorithm, and then I will get more clear. And part of it for me is to lay the foundation down, not just for myself, but for everyone else too, who is looking to do their own Dharma work, as Eric Godsey says, and say, hey, let's start with where you're at. And some people will look at going, he's sending out like 30-minute videos. I don't want to do that. It's like, no, some of these are shorter, some are longer. And for me, it's releasing what's been bottled up. I've had a lot of things to say for a long time, learning from a lot of people and a lot of modalities coming together. It's been bottled up. I have no intentions of writing a poetry book or even probably a book in the near future, because that's a level of editing and refinement. Right now, I want to expound, deliver, and practice. And in this, a theme, I imagine, emerges, a thread emerges. And sometimes it's not even me that sees it, someone else sees it. The reason I have my own title, name, Soul Dr. Nick, was a dear friend through a retreat that we were doing, looked over at me and saw me with my giant tuning forks and thought, you look like a soul doctor now. And it stuck with me. I was like, I love that. I love that. I'm going to embrace it for now. And it made change. I've had many names, many things. It used to just be Dr. Nick, right? And now even on my website, our first iteration of it, we've let go of Soul Dr. Nick being the title that I have to have compared to everyone else. And at first it's like, no, this is going to be something people want. They want either Nick MD or something else like that. And I'm like, wait a second, that's what I think. Let's actually see what reality unfolds. And we can always change it. We can always change it back. And is it just my ego wanting to stand out? And sometimes it is. I enjoy bright colors. I enjoy standing out at times. I don't think we're all meant to blend in, to be pastel, to be dull, to be monotone, to be earth tones. And probably that's part of the natural part of the male evolution of wanting to peacock at times. And how do we want to peacock, right? And for myself, it's just how do I keep creating spaces and opportunities to grow, not just for myself, but everyone else. And I realized that today too, the generational legacy that I have. It may have nothing to do with me and what I'm doing or the strategy. It may be the state that I'm in and how that state influences others. And I've realized that, especially in this state right now, often people say after they spend time with me, like, oh my God, these things are happening. I'm like, that's fantastic. How do I spend more time with those I love in a conscious way to have that impact on them and remind them, let those impacts come through, because it would make me really happy for you to get what you want without trying, without me having to do anything. And that's another piece. What if it is that I don't have to do more? And I'm noticing more, especially my one day immersive experiences. I at one point was saying no rush, like we can go as long as you want. And that may not actually serve. We want to make it spacious. We want to make sure that it feels really good. And we want to honor the medicine. We want to honor the time. We want to honor our energy. And more isn't always better. More isn't always better. And it's been so programmed into myself as well. Time equals money. So if I get more time, I get more value, versus it's actually how my life changes and the results. And that's again what I'm learning through Tony. Like, he's all about delivering as much results as he can through the programs that he has. And he's delivered so many so he can keep tightening it up. And I'm sure that every time he's looking at how do I optimize this even more? How do I make this more clear? And he has a team around him to do that. And sometimes people are like, oh, he's always got people scouting, checking things out. It's like, yes, we want that. We want that. We want the best of people working together. And that's what I want as well. And I'm going to start with the team that I have. And the part that I'm going to practice is noticing, how do I be more clear of my expectations of roles that I want? How do I be more clear about the hiring that I do? And even right now, I'm going to be looking to hire someone to help me with decluttering, because it's time to clean up this house. And in that role, how do I be more clear of what I'm looking for? And that still feels icky, because I don't know if I want to write it down. And that's what I'm going to do. So that's one of my commitments today, is just to write down a few things of what I'm looking for. And what else is there? Is to have a chat with my beloved if she's up for it. And it's up to her. If she's not up for it, I don't need to have that. And to take care of my state and probably do a hot bay session. I've been meaning to do it since last night to clear some of this energy. And I'm probably going to head down now. And if they're not up yet, I'll do a hot bay session. All right. A lot of love. Ciao for now.